Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for attending today's session. So my name is Brian Toole and I'm the AI and Data Science Tech Lead for Digital Catapult. And we're hosting today's session in collaboration with Kainos and Allstate. So with us on the call today, we have Nathan Cairns, who is the Intelligent Automation Practice Lead at Kainos, and Andrew McCollum, who's the Delivery Lead for Claim Services RPA team in Allstate Northern Ireland. So before we get started, I just have to go through a little bit of housekeeping to let everybody know that this session is being recorded. So not everyone who registered has been able to join us this afternoon. So we hope to get a copy of the recording out to everyone by next week. For those of you who are on the call, you'll have the opportunity obviously to watch it back, any parts that you want to see again, or indeed share with some colleagues. And you'll notice as well that both the chat and Q&A functions are available today. We do just ask that you keep them separate where possible. So use the chat to post thoughts or comments or chat amongst yourselves. But any questions that you have for the two speakers, please use the Q&A function. And I'll monitor that throughout, and we'll have some time at the end to get through as many questions as we can. You also have the option to submit a question anonymously if you prefer. And you can also upvote other people's questions if you had a similar thought and you want to make sure that that one gets answered. So before we hear from our two speakers, I'll just take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Digital Catapult and what we do and why we're having this webinar. So originally, this had been planned as a live event. We were going to have it in the event space in Ormo Baths where we're based. And here it is looking empty as it has been for the last few months. So we were hoping to get this organized back in April, but obviously a lot has happened this year. And yeah, we're just sort of thankful and happy to be able to get this event off the ground, at least in a virtual capacity. So Digital Catapult, we are headquartered in London, where we have a team of about 130, 140 people. And there are also two regional centres, one just outside of Newcastle and one here in Belfast, where we're based. But you can see from the map there that we kind of have partnerships and facilities scattered all throughout the country. We try and engage with people through a number of different mechanisms, whether that's through research and academia, working with local government. We work both with sort of large corporates and industries, as well as SMEs and startups. Digital Catapult runs a number of accelerator programs. I just want to mention one very briefly is the Machine Intelligence Garage. So that's for AI-based startups. And it's like a rolling open call. So once a quarter, they take on about 8 to 12 SMEs in the AI space, and they get access to free compute through AWS, Google, or NVIDIA. They also get access to investors as well, and that's something that we run for other companies, access to investors to see what they're looking for, and also have the opportunity to pitch to them. And just the final point on this slide as well is that we are part of a larger Catapult network, and not everyone is aware that there are actually 9 catapults, so ranging from things like medicine and biology through to energy systems, manufacturing, and satellite applications. So if anyone feels that they would prefer to get in touch with one of these very specific catapults, Digital Catapult is the only centre based in Northern Ireland. So if you want to get in touch, please reach out to us and we're more than happy to make that connection. So Digital Catapult, we mostly focus on creative industries and manufacturing, but as you can tell, they're quite broad, so we capture a lot anyway. But in Northern Ireland specifically, we, because of the smaller landscape, we'll do our best to help anyone who reaches out and wants to engage with us, who may need help on that digital transformation journey. We work across 4 main technology areas. So that's future networks, which would be 5G and IoT, immersive technologies, so augmented reality or virtual reality. Whenever there's not a global pandemic, we would encourage people to come by our immersive lab in Belfast in the Ormo Baths, where we have access to a lot of the latest kit. And our immersive tech lead, Nigel, he has a lot of really good use cases for improved visualization, training simulations, and things like that. There's also artificial intelligence, which is kind of my area, and that covers machine learning and data analytics, and also more recently, kind of the first step on that ladder of data discovery, which I'll talk about in a second. And the future focus piece is around cybersecurity, distributed ledger technology, and blockchain. And that's where we would need to call on our London colleagues for that area of expertise. And you'll notice what's not on the list is robotic process automation, or intelligent process automation. You could argue, I guess, that it fits roughly under the artificial intelligence umbrella, but it's not an area where we have specific expertise. And that's why we're really happy to have our two speakers today who are going to enlighten us in just a few minutes. But the reason we wanted to host this event in the first place is based on the back of a stakeholder engagement session that we ran at the end of last year. So in December, we invited companies who had engaged with Digital Catapult in some capacity throughout 2019 and asked them to sort of give us feedback on what we're doing. And they were largely complimentary, thankfully, but what we wanted out of the session was where are the gaps and opportunities that we can hopefully help address to the benefit of businesses here. So one of them is improved access to funding, looking for more information on open calls, forming collaborative networks, and in particular for CR&D opportunities. And we are currently investigating ways that we might be able to help streamline the funding landscape in Northern Ireland. Over on the right-hand side, we have the cross-catapult awareness. So that's why every opportunity we have, we let people know that we are just one of 9 catapults. Because we're the only ones based in Northern Ireland, please feel free to reach out to us if you want engagement across any of the catapult networks. And ensuring the innovation ecosystem avoids fragmentation. So that's one where our colleague Michael McClellan, he's been working very hard since March on implementing a business case for the establishment of an AI Centre of Excellence in Northern Ireland. So this is on the back of the Matrix Commissioned Turing report that was published last year. It highlighted the academic excellence in AI in Northern Ireland. So if you combined Queen's and Ulster together, they would rank 6th in the UK for AI output. And the UK is 3rd in the world overall. So it's a very good place for Northern Ireland to be in. But there's more to be done to provide like a unified shop window to pull together the 2 academic institutions, local government and industries here to really accelerate the use of AI in Northern Ireland. So hopefully the business case for that should be ready for submission in the next couple of weeks. The one at the bottom there, improved access to data. So that's what we found kind of over the last few months with engagement through companies. So companies are, yes, they're interested in machine learning proof of concepts, or they might be interested in immersive technology for a specific training example or customer engagement. But typically what we're finding is a lot of companies still need help on almost that first rung of the ladder in identifying their data, finding out what's useful, what's appropriate for these more advanced applications. And we're trying to help a number of companies on that at the minute. And I think that fits quite nicely with the final one on this slide, is the opportunity to implement some automation. And so that's the reason why we're having this event. And that's really all I wanted to say. So my contact details are at the bottom here, or you can feel free to chat during the session today. And with that, I will hand over to our first speaker, Nathan from Kainos.
Thanks, Brian. I'll just share my screen. Is that all working okay for you, Brian?
Yeah, looks good. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Just a quick introduction to me. So my name is Nathan Kearns, and I'm the head of intelligent automation here at Kainos. So we've recently launched this practice in Kainos. It's something that we have been doing sort of across our projects, but we've now formalized this into a formal sort of bit of our business that we're taking forward. So just going to quickly introduce who Kainos are. So Kainos deliver digital transformation, and we deliver this across sort of 2 main areas. One being digital services, where we do a lot of work in the public sector, and you'll see some of the logos in the top right of the slides, some of the customers we worked with. And also we do quite a lot in the sort of commercial and healthcare sectors as well, which is particularly pertinent at the moment, particularly in healthcare. And we also have a fairly significant Workday business unit as well, where we have over 600 Workday certifications across the team. And we have delivered, again, to some huge customers like Netflix, Match.com, and Shopify. Some of the things that are really important to Kainos are our partnerships. So we have sort of global partnerships with Workday, Microsoft, AWS, and a newly formed one with the UIPath, which we're going to mention later on as well. And we find these partnerships help us deliver really transformational technology for our customers. And it's those sort of relationships and those technology partnerships that have helped us deliver well over 100 really successful projects, many award-winning projects in there. So it's great now that we're looking at intelligent automation, that we can add our expertise into this space as well. So a quick overview of what RPA is. And I wanted to start with intelligent automation, which is one of the main buzzwords going around. And intelligent automation encompasses a bit more than just RPA. And really it is the combination of process discovery. And when I talk about process discovery, it's including things like process mining, where we use software to identify opportunities to automate within a business. It also includes sort of standard consulting, where we go in and work with the business, work with the users, and identify pain points in the processes where we would look at what we could do to automate and take some of the pain out of their day jobs. And some of that would as well include process improvement. So one of the key things here is you don't want to automate bad processes. So whatever we can do at the start to fix those and improve those before we move it forward, that's what we'll try and do. That then moves into RPA and Robotic Process Automation, where we actually do the automation of those processes that we've identified. And that is very much complemented by AI. So Kainos have a fairly significant AI practice, and we've delivered some really, really interesting and cool stuff. And it's now intelligent automation's the amalgamation of these two things. So between process discovery, robotic process automation, and AI, that's empowering people to really deliver rapid end-to-end process transformation. And it also helps organizations accelerate their digital transformation. And a key thing in the middle of this is analytics. So there's no point in doing anything if we can't track how successful it is. So we need to be constantly optimizing what we're doing. So we do this internally with what we do in continuous improvement, but as also with our clients. Anything that's delivered, there needs to be agreed metrics, there needs to be agreed expected return on investment, and what benefits that we expect to see, that those are tracked. And if things aren't delivering what we expect to do, that we're constantly optimizing and improving the processes. So it's very much not a, we've done one process, we move on. We need to constantly improve. And before I move on, I just want to touch on some of the differences between, RPA and AI, because there is some confusion out there about what they are. And AI is really looking at, the cognitive decisions that are being made and sort of choices. And then moving on from there, making decisions with the choices that are made and actually, acting on what's happening. And RPA is really about bringing data, sort of entering and moving data from one place to another. So when you combine those two, moving data, and AI is powered by data. So if we can combine this stuff with AI, with RPA and AI, it's a really powerful tool that we can use with our customers. So what is RPA? So it is software. It is computer software that can be used sort of independently or by ourselves to automate pieces of work. So, it's the automation of repetitive, rule-based tasks that follow a common flow, and the same thing happens all the time. Or it could be moving data at volume, or it could be communication across different IT systems. And one of the key benefits of RPA and the tools that are out there are that it mimics humans' interaction with computer systems. So it doesn't, if it's legacy systems that don't have APIs for you to integrate with other systems, you can use the user interface. It acts as a person, and you can give it login credentials. You can, we see a lot of examples where they have human names, so they're less scary for people. But that's what it is. It's very simply just mimicking what we do. And some of the key features of RPA and the platforms that are out there from RPA providers are that they work with documents, so they have very intelligent OCR capabilities. So they're able to look at invoices, for example, and extract key information and then do something with that information. And as I said as well, there's the ability to use legacy integration or even integrating systems where you typically have to build a complex integration system that you're now able to do use RPA to integrate that quite quickly. And all of these products come with out-of-the-box connectors into all of the typical business systems that you would see across businesses today. So, AWS, Azure, Microsoft, SAP, Oracle, Workday, all of these key things, you will see connectors out of the box. And one of the things that is improving over the years and over the last couple of years quite significantly is AI capabilities. So there's now embedded AI capabilities of various levels of complexity across these products. And that can enable you to make decisions where typically a human would have to do that. The AI is able to make decisions in your processes. So what RPA isn't, so it's not a physical robot. So some people are worried that this is hardware that's going to end up in people's offices. It's not, it's software. And it's not replacing people. So there is a big fear of robots coming in and taking people's jobs. RPA really augments your workforce, and that's what it's used for, is to augment and improve processes. And it will, if you take a manual, repetitive, boring process away from someone, they will be happier because they're able to focus on more important parts of their job. And it's not just cost savings, so it isn't about reducing money. And I think Andrew later talks a wee bit more about this. It's about reducing risk, it's improving customer relationships, it's about making people and employees happier. So there's multiple benefits here, and it mightn't necessarily just be cost. So some of the benefits, I've just touched on some of them, but sort of here's the key benefits that we use with our customers. And it's really around the top three ones I've called out. There is obviously cost savings, and quite significant cost savings if that's what you're after. So anywhere from 20 to 60% is the type of stuff we would see. There's a huge improvement in reliability. There's no sick days of these robots. They operate 24/7 if you're using unattended ones, 365. So you can have multiple, an army of robots in the background just working away, doing stuff. And there's also the ability that everything here is audited. So you can create all your processes to pop out audit trails that you can see exactly what's done by these robots. So some of the things that we have seen with our customers is how they've used intelligent automation. You're starting at the top left, it's accelerating their transformation. So there's a big push, obviously, Kainos are sort of leading on digital transformation, but there's some of our customers that it might take a year or 2 years for them to fully move to a new system or move to a new application that Kainos are helping them build. And we can use RPA quite tactically to enable and accelerate the transformation of projects. Or actually, this is releasing benefits for them to think about now doing the big transformation piece down the line. You've got the employee satisfaction. I've touched on this already. You can make people happy by taking monotonous work out of their daily jobs. And there's a big push across some of these platforms are being rolled out by the software vendors of almost giving you a digital assistant that you can have sitting on your desktop that automates, doing your timesheets, for example. And that small improvement can make your life much happier and make your employees' life much better as well. You've obviously got the accuracy and consistency. These robots are doing the exact same thing that you tell it to do. There's no worries about human error slipping in, and it's going to be the exact same process followed every time. And then finally, there's the increased productivity. So I do have a demo and a couple of slides showing you what happens here, but the productivity improvements are really quite fast. So you can have, where you typically have one person doing a process, you can now have 5 robots or 10 robots or how many robots you want, and you can quickly work through backlogs, for example. So there's huge benefits, and these are just some of the benefits that you can do. I thought it'd be worth showing that now. So what does the market look like? So this is, anyone who's familiar with Gartner and his magic quadrants, this is the most recent one as of June this year. And you'll see there's really top 3 suppliers in the market. So UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism, who have fairly significant intelligent automation platforms that cover the whole spectrum of intelligent automation tools. And they've really just, particularly the top 3 have really made a distinction for themselves in the market. There's a lot of niche products in the market as well that do really pointed examples that you could be perfect use cases for yourselves. And one that, with our relationship with Microsoft, we've been tracking quite closely is Microsoft's move into the market. So in the one that the Magic Quadrant that was done before this one, Microsoft weren't on it, and then they bought Softomotive and are now number 5, and it's a huge investment for them. So I'm really interested to watch this space and see over the next 6 months how much things are moving. So as you can see on the far right, intelligent automation is one of the top buzzwords this year. It's the number 3 search term on Gartner. And it's really something that's moving forward in the industry and across businesses as well. Everyone's talking about it, which is obviously why we're here as well. And really, for me, what I've seen over the last 3 or 4 months is a real focus on doing more than just RPA from these vendors. So there's obviously process mining, there's sort of crowdsourcing of ideas, there's centralized orchestration of the robots, there's all these things, and then all the AI capabilities, that there's a full suite of stuff that's there for everyone to take advantage of. So just talking about the adoption of RPA. So there's some stats going around that there's about 20% of enterprises that are using RPA now. With this sort of survey looking at having 85% of enterprises are saying that they think they'll deploy RPA by 2023. So there's a huge opportunity for everyone here. And there's obviously a big emphasis on people to drive efficiency in their businesses. So it's for a company like Kainos, this is a perfect scenario for us to be able to help people. And where can you start leveraging RPA? So there's really endless type of opportunities. And I touched on some of the key characteristics in a couple of slides time. But really it's across sort of heavy volume units within your business. So HR, finance, IT, procurement, and business operations. These are all prime examples of where you can use RPA to improve the day and the workflow and the productivity of your units. So this is all great. So what I wanted to show you is actually an example. So this is kindly provided from our friends in UIPath and the video as well. So this is one of their examples looking at the OCR invoice processing. And there was a bank that had 20,000 invoices annually, and the processing time was about 7 minutes. And this required sort of manual steps that was going on. So the UIPath team and the partner involved in this developed unattended robots where they were sort of self-deployed and they were always in listening mode, and then utilized UiPath's OCR capabilities to read and process those invoices. Through that process, they extracted what they needed to do, and they did the matching across the systems to make sure that was actually the correct details. So in less than 3 months, this was delivered, and the automated process bot was live, and this took the process down from 7 minutes to 1 minute. So what does that actually look like? So this isn't the exact example, but it was a really good video that showed what was going on. And this is actually a deployment of UiPath again, doing something with SAP. So in this scenario, there was a folder where all the incoming PDF invoices were put into, and the robot was set up that once those invoices hit that folder, it would be triggered, and at that trigger point, they would go in and extract the information from the invoices as required. It then opened SAP using the credentials that were stored in the system. It used that extracted information and inputted it directly in the SAP. And then as that was done, sent all the notifications to say this invoice has been accepted correctly. So this sort of showing now is actually what UiPath Studio looks like. And this is a bit old, this is from a few years ago, and it has improved. But this is sort of showing someone kicking off. But this typically would be done in the background. And it's sort of exaggerated here to show what's going on. So you see now it's registered that there's an email in the inbox. It's read that email, and it's now putting in all these details that this has been workflowed in. It opens up SAP, and it logs in with the credentials that are saved for it. And that now opens into the correct section. And you'll see it start going through the process, put in the correct company code, and it starts inputting the invoices into the system. And one of the things that I sort of just want to stress here, this is one robot doing this. If you're in an organization, I'm speaking to an organization now that has over 40,000 invoices a month coming in, they're going to have many robots. So they were just going to be constantly flowing through this. So this is just showing one robot working and the benefits that can be delivered from that. As you can see, it's quite quick. This is obviously going to be happening in the background, and you can see here that the emails are being issued as required, and they're going through. So as I said, this is one robot. If you had a bank of 20 to 100 robots doing this, you can imagine how many invoices they could process on a daily basis if that's the organization that required it. So what were the outcomes here? So they were, in this scenario that we were looking at, an 86% reduction in process time, which is huge. For them, 100% error reduction, which again is huge. And the customer I'm speaking to at the moment, one of their big bugbears is there's a huge issue with errors and error handling. And then sort of finally 2,000 staff hours saved annually. So that was the benefit that was delivered from this. So how do you get started on your journey? And the first bit is to identify your processes. So on the left, here's a load of different examples of processes that you could touch on within your business. And really what you're looking for is these characteristics on the right-hand side. So is your process data intensive, repetitive, rule-driven? So it's the exact same process every time. For example, if you're using sensitive content, it could be in HR that you don't necessarily want people to look at it. The robots can do that. And anywhere that there's manual rekeying in the multiple systems. So if you think that you're sitting there transferring manually one system to another, you can automate that. And these are the type of things that we would be looking out for. And once you identify these processes, what does the journey look like? And really for me, it's to start at that discovery phase. Find where the opportunity lies and what value you want to get out of this. And that's where you develop your business case. What do you actually want to achieve here? And for me, a really important thing is to actually have an executive level sponsor. That could be the COO, it could be the head of operations, whatever. You need to have someone from the top who really believes in this. And that will help them drive it through in the business. You want to target 1 or 2 processes to start with and make sure you deliver that and you're delivering the value that you expect to see. And as you get more confident, you see this return, you then move to the scale where you start adding more processes. And that's where you start really watching your benefits realization and focusing on what matters for you. It could be cost reduction, could be people's time freeing up, whatever you want your metrics to be. That's really important for you to do. Key thing is to evangelize about automation within your business. You need people to be excited. You need people to identify the opportunities. If you have people knocking on your door that I've spotted a process that I can automate, that's what you want. And at this stage, you'd be thinking about setting up your own center of excellence or working with a partner like us to do that. And then finally, once you've got the scale and this is now embedded in your organization, that's where you start automating the really complex stuff. Type of stuff that Allstate are doing. And that's where you start sharing the measurements and you start sharing the benefits across the organization. And that's where you'll start seeing demand organically grow. So this is what it could look like. Everyone will have a different journey, but it's really important to get some of these. What are your metrics? What are your KPIs? Who's the sponsor? And then starting with something that you believe will add, the low-hanging fruit, what will deliver really quick benefits that will start showing and improving this across your business. So that's it for me. If you'd like any more information, there's my email address. I'm more than happy to take any questions or any set up a call with anyone who's interested. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Nathan. That was great. Prompted a few questions there on the Q&A, so we will get to them at the end. Just to remind everyone as well that the Q&A box is open, and use that rather than the chat, please, for any questions for our 2 speakers. So up now we have Andy from Allstate. Go ahead. We can see your screen.
Hey folks. Oh, can you see it okay now?
Yep.
Cool. Folks, thanks very much. I think Nathan really helped demystify some of what RPA is there. Some of the things that he talked about in his themes, I'm going to continue with you. One of them is that RPA is a journey. It's not necessarily a once and done. Once you've done it, you should always be looking for new processes to automate or anywhere that you can unlock the value for it. And the other item is that RPA isn't there to replace staff. RPA is done on business rules. Anything that requires a cognitive ability, it goes off to a user. You'll reassign it, you'll get that there until potentially maybe the intelligent automation is there and able to handle it. But it takes away the repetitive work. And with our company, we just have people go on up the food chain and the tasks they're working. They no longer have to do those little tasks. They're doing the better ones. So just to give you a little overview, I've been with Allstate myself for 11 years. In that time, I've been a delivery lead for a global .NET application. I've been a delivery lead in the ETL world. I've been an area problem manager as opposed to the problem manager. And I've recently moved over to the RPA offering that we have. So at present, I lead a globally located Scrum team, and we're delivering Blue Prism automations for all state business partners. So as we go through my presentation here, I'm just going to preface that Blue Prism is our enterprise tool of choice. There's going to be other tools out there, and the tool choice that you go with is going to be part of your onboarding and figuring out which works best for you. My area is also slightly unique in that all of the coding is done by the development team, and we work in conjunction with our business partners. So on my Scrum team, I have a business partner. He is my product owner and he's based in Texas. My BA is based in India at present. And then the development team is based in Belfast and India. And our Scrum Master is located here in Belfast with me as well. And just to preface some of the work, the majority of the work that my team does at present, it's in our claims processing application. So that's our enterprise tool where we process all of the claims from the States. So as I go through, hopefully that'll give some context around Blue Prism and whenever I'm talking about the work that my team does. Okay. So within our automation solutions group, we're a global delivery center. We have approximately 8 Scrum teams in there. These Scrum teams are made up of RDA development teams, RPA development teams, and we also have our prod ops teams. They look after our production support, our governance, and the operations side of it. At present, we have 37 Blue Prism digital workers, and they're working across 21 processes. That's just our group within Allstate. As you'll have seen in Nathan's slides, we have our HR teams. They have automated processes in place in their own bots, and there's other areas of the company as well. We do also have a lot of legacy items. So we're currently taking those automations from technologies like Assist Edge and OpenSpan and remediating them into Blue Prism. So within our group, we process about 1.1 million transactions per year. That equates to about 70,000 hours of capacity, and the capacity that we return to our business partners is valued at about approximately £750,000. That's year to date, and each year we're growing, we're taking on more processes, and as we do that, that continues to rise. Myself, I'm the product manager for 5 processes and about 17 digital workers at present, and we account for about $450,000 of that work and about 600,000 transactions. So today, folks, I'm going to take you on part of my journey and part of Allstate's journey with RPA. 2 of the items I'm going to talk about are utilization and scalability. These are 2 things that they're not always at the forefront whenever you get your RPA center up and running, but they're things that will quickly come to the forefront as you start to get better at it and as your organization starts to get bigger. So when we talk about utilization, it's the percentage of capacity used by your digital workforce. So with Blue Prism, my digital worker is available 24/7. How much of that time is actually spent by the bot processing and how much of that time is idle? We'll get a little deeper into it as we go through. And the next item is scalability. This is the ability of our digital workforce to handle an increased workload. This could be an increase in tasks or transactions. It could also be a reduction in them, or it could be an expanded scope of usage in the digital workforce. So with that, we're talking about, we want to make the digital worker do more of that process. We maybe want to take part of the learnings that we have from that and apply it to a different process. So we're going to go through utilization. One of the things about utilization is really getting into that mindset of a human worker versus a digital worker. Everything's a bit strange with COVID at present. And if you're like our company, you find yourself having virtual coffee meetups and everything like that. And we actually got to talking one day about what everybody was going to do with their time whenever the working day was done. And it kind of got me thinking about utilization and just a simple little image that we can take everybody through to kind of get you in the right mind frame before we delve a little bit deeper into it. So some of you from the UK will be familiar with this. It's family fortunes. So as an area, we were kind of talking about what everybody was going to do that time. You know, we don't really have the gym to go to, the pubs aren't really open and things like that. So we're kind of talking about what our lives look like now. I think there's a few in there that people relate to. I think I actually do need to download a new update for Warzone. And the kids are quiet. Everyone's always wondering what they're at. So that's what we do with our downtime. What does a digital worker do with their downtime? They don't do anything. The digital worker is based off the tasks and the work that you give them. If there's no tasks or work, it's going to sit idle, and you're paying for that license, whether it works 365 days a year, 24/7, or if it works 1 hour a day, your license fee is still the same. So it's on you to try and improve the utilization, you to really make that bot sweat and make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck with it. So why utilization? Nathan's already taken you through a couple of the key performance indicators, but with our team, because we're the technology side of it, utilization is a really key performance indicator for us. It shows how successful we are. The reason being, I have responsibility to be a financially viable technology partner. While we're making savings for the business, as you've seen, our area returns about $750,000 in value to them. We have to pay for the licenses for those digital workers. They're going to complete it. We could be saving money there, but if we're not a financially viable part of the enterprise, then we're not really offering as many savings as we can. And with us being the technology side of it, the onus comes on to us to make sure that we're pushing our utilization as high as we can go. 100% doesn't necessarily mean 24/7. You might have an effective time of 23 hours. Your digital worker needs time to log in, log out, maybe change schedules during the day. So how did I address this? Because we work in conjunction with our partners, our business partners, we improved our onboarding processes. So as Nathan said, you're always identifying new areas that could potentially be done by RPA. You'll optimize those first before you bring them to the RPA group. When they come across, it's thinking about, okay, what is your SLA? To the business, their SLA is 24 hours for this task to be completed. But as a technologist, you're thinking, what's the next step in the processing? If I complete this on demand and this is going off to sit in a batch job until 12 o'clock that night, is there something that I can make the digital worker do before that? I should also be asking questions around, how does the processing look during the week? Is there only a specific time that it needs to be processed? Does it have a high and low season? As we go through this, you'll discover one of our automations is impacted by natural catastrophes. So as you can tell, its processing goes up and down during the year. These are the type of things that should be in my mind as a delivery lead, thinking about how best to utilize what I have. We've built out a lot of our own Tableau dashboards. For these, we're able to show any of the KPIs that we want. We can show how much a digital worker has been utilized, how much a process is utilizing. We have our average handle times, our process counts. We can break this out into anything to show the successful transactions, the failed transactions, those that don't meet business rules, and we apply it, send them off for manual processing. This is one of these things that provides metrics for how you're doing, and it really does help with the utilization. The other item, it's a journey. You're applying lessons learned as you develop new automations. Each new automation that you develop, it's going to have new challenges. You're going to learn new ways of doing things, and you're going to have an existing suite of automations that you can apply those learnings to. For items like that, if you learn a new and faster way of doing something, we would always take it to bring it back into the backlog for the other items and try to apply it there. Let's try and get back as much time as we can and really increase the utilization. So what has that meant for us? In our digital workforce, some of the utilization percentages are over 70%. Quite a few of them are projected to hit 100. What that means overall for us as a technology area, we've rolled out 7 new processes by our group in 2020, and we haven't had to pay for any additional licenses. I think a Blue Prism license is charged, I think for us, we costed around 15,000 per year. You can do the math on that one to see how much we've done as a cost avoidance. It's allowed our capacity planning to be there to support a product roadmap and on-demand scaling. So we know whenever we have month-end processing coming that we have capacity available or where we can find it. We know that if there's a cat that comes in, which is a natural disaster, we know where we can find the capacity to do it. For myself, I have an automation that is currently ramping up. It's running on 3 digital workers. I know that the average handle time is going to take a bump up, but through the good work that the team has done, I've been able to corral off some capacity from a different automation so that it's there and ready for that one to be transferred over. So here, folks, you're going to see how we tackle the scalability conundrum. And this kind of takes you through the journey of our area from the start, which would be the past state. I'm not even going to blag that I know what that robot is, but you can see the current state where we're getting ready to go and the future state where the robot is up walking by itself. So with the past state, we were establishing our RPA capability. What this meant to us, we ended up with a lot of digital worker profiles. When I talk about the profile, it's the rules and access that that digital worker has. For us, we had, if you were doing process A, you had the rules to do process A. If you're doing process B, you had the rules to do process B. We also had multiple DVD configurations. Our Blue Prism digital workers, they run off remote DVDs. This kind of leads to some issues in that if process A has to have Adobe installed, you can't run process B. You need to go and put the Adobe uninstalled in that machine. Anything that you can configure, you have to make sure that it works for everybody. We had an awfully long lead-in time to scale. For us to flex a digital worker to another process, we were up between 24 and 48 hours to start tackling a backlog that was rising. We had long lead-in time for new automations. Each automation that came in, it was developed as a standalone automation. There was no thought given to reusable objects or how it could be used elsewhere. Now, thankfully, those are the old days. Now we're in our current state. So what we've created, we have a digital worker profile. Any digital worker that's in my group and is working with the claims processing application has a unified work group setup. It has all of the rules, all of the access, and all of the authorities it needs. Because Allstate is deemed to be a financial institution, we do have a lot of compliance and we do have a lot of SOX compliance too. Everything like that has been taken through the various stakeholders and got the sign off. And as Nathan said, it's about evangelizing. We did plenty of roadshows to show what a digital worker can and can't do, how it's secure, how it's basically, I think the analogy I like to use, it's like going to the theme park. If you're like me and you don't really like roller coasters and you're on the little one that goes around the water, it can't actually get off and go on the scary roller coaster. Everything is siloed off and it goes through. We've established a base image for any DVD configurations. So if we are scaling up, we know that every DVD machine we have is currently set up to accept any automation. What that has meant for scaling, we can scale within 10 to 15 minutes. It comes in very handy whenever there's a catastrophe and your processing is going up from maybe 500 a day to a couple of thousand. The reason it takes so long is at present that we manually change the scheduling for it. With each design, we've been building out a library of reusable objects so that if we do have a new automation that's coming in from a certain system, we have a catalog there that we can drag and drop in and do the majority of the work for us. It's just going to need some custom objects put in there as each of the functionality is going to be different. I think at present we're sitting at around about 29 reusable objects available to my team and some of the other development teams facing our claims application. The future state, that's where ideally we want to get to, where we can deliver performance. We want to have an automated capacity management system. So when we build a digital worker and the automation goes live, it remains with our development team for a hypercare period, and then it goes over to our production support team. That area has kind of been tasked with building out a way of handling this. They're going to automate the automations. We have 2 years worth of data. We're going to be able to use those to make decisions, and we fully understand every SLA and when the time to process is low, when the time to process is going to be high, so that that becomes automated for us. And we're going to continue to build that extensive library of reusable objects. Any automation that's coming through for us, we're going to know what it needs, how we can actually give a proper estimate for it. And my team, we're currently operating in like a semi-safe agile environment. We have a program backlog and we do RPA planning. So that's really helping us to identify what's going to unlock the most amount of value for our business partners and also the technology teams as we go forward. So folks, that was kind of the scalability and the utilization. And that's coming from my point of view in our journey. Everything's going to be different for what you do. I'd just like to take you through one of the success stories that we had for that and kind of show you some of the facts and figures and what can come out of it. So this was a vendor invoice automation and it was built for our claim services area. We had a digital worker who was processing this payment 24 hours a day, and that will go 7 days a week. What that meant for us, we processed approximately 250,000 successful invoice transactions per year. And during the months, they would range from 12,000 going all the way up to 40,000 per month. The reason being, this was for a vendor that deals with catastrophe related claims. Every time there was a catastrophe, there would be an influx. So we had to improve upon the existing design, provide an efficient automation so that we were able to get that value unlocked for our business partners and also prove our worth as a technology area. The initial design When we first built the process, it was very robust, but it was also very slow. We'd gone for the safe option. It was able to go out there. The transaction volume, it fluctuated with natural disasters, but we didn't really understand what that could be. Would it be an extra 1,000 a month? Would it be an extra 20,000 a month? We didn't know that. There was bottlenecks in the worker allocation and availability. As we kind of discussed before, we didn't really have the ability to swap digital workers between processes. So version 2.0, we took a lot of the developer learnings from some of our new automations and we refactored the code. We got our digital worker profile approved and applied, and we developed a flexible and proactive capacity strategy. What that means for us in low season, I have 4 digital workers providing the capacity of 3, which means they're basically working part-time shifts on this. The other time, they're actually processing a report that needs to be provided by 9 a.m. Once that report is done, they automatically switch over. With the average handle time that we have, we're able to handle the low season in that flexible way. And that's where it's taking up those digital workers to between 70 and 100%. As it ramps up, those guys will definitely hit 100. The developer learnings, as you start looking into the various different items for RPA, you'll hear about spying an awful lot. That's whenever you're going on screen, taking the element, getting the information from there. We're trying to move away from that as much as possible. We're making use of APIs from our business partners and other technology teams. If we can get the information quicker that way, we can do it. Failing that, we're starting to make direct database calls to gather the information that we need, really starting to hammer down that average handle time. The value we got from that, our average handle time was reduced by 60%. I know that 60% doesn't really have any context. I've kind of left it out just to give it a bit more bang. The average transaction was taking between 8 and 9 minutes. We've managed to shorten that down to 2.5 minutes. That's meant that no additional digital workers needed to be ordered. We've got a lot of developer upskilling. They've got better at understanding the processes and how they go. And we've built a lot more reusable objects. Paying vendors is something that we do an awful lot of. There's an awful lot of value that we can chase from that. For the business partner, these changes alone, it was a return of $160,000 per year. We really increase our success rate to over 90%. For us, a successful transaction is one that runs from end to end and gives the correct business outcome. You're never going to hit 100%. That's an honest opinion from me. You're always going to need someone in the business there to catch the reassigns or the items that don't meet the business logic. But if your success rate's over 90% and your reassigns are low, you're not going to need as many of those workers. They're not going to need to do it full time. They're going to be able to concentrate on other items, and you'll hopefully get that job satisfaction for them. A lot of our metrics take into account just the value that we unlock. If you're working with your business partners, it's also, you need to remember about the intangible business costs. This would have ramped up in the field whenever there was a catastrophe. What that would have meant, we had an awful lot of seasonal workers. Seasonal workers don't really have a desire to stay. They can up and leave whenever they want. They need to be trained. But who trains them? You need to pay for a trainer. Where's the trainer going to host that? Pre-COVID, you would have had to pay for a training room, a training environment. You would have had a lead-in time of 6 weeks. We've really shown that there's extra value out there that the business need to be aware of themselves and need to be tracking as well. We can provide the simple metrics to them, but that's where that partnership comes in, and we help them to get there to show the overall value that they've released. I think you can see that was actually a quite good one to share there. We're able to flex this up in 15 minutes instead of the 8 weeks that it would have taken to get a human in there to do the same sort of work. Folks, that's me. I apologize, I've got the sun streaming straight on me, so it's quite hot, so I've got a bit of cotton mouth from it.
Okay, thanks very much, Andy. That was another really good talk. So yeah, we have about 5 minutes for questions. So there has been a few come in here. I guess I'll ask these. They have been ranked. A few people have been voting on some of the questions. So the top question here is the deployment of RPA hindered by having disparate legacy systems within a business, or can this be overcome?
I'll take that and start off with. Definitely not. It's something that it's actually a proper use case for RPA because it uses the user interface rather than needing APIs or anything like that. It can really work across sort of old legacy systems that people are looking to retire. So, definitely a proper use case. It's not hindered from my perspective in any way.
I'd say exactly the same thing. In Allstate, we have .NET applications. There's legacy mainframe applications. We automate in them all. One of the best sources of automation developers you're going to find within your company is those developers. I have former mainframer developers, ETL engineers, testers. They've all come across to RPA, and they all take that existing skill set that we have. It's a great way to upskill people within your company. If you do have really old legacy items, it's the perfect opportunity for those developers to kind of upskill themselves, making use of the skills they already have.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Next question, is RPA suitable for all sizes of businesses in all sectors? This person is particularly thinking about the third sector.
Yeah, definitely. So there's different flavors of it, and there's different providers. So you could look at doing a very small deployment. That could be a really tactical robot. So the way the robots are deployed and set up, they can do multiple things across the day. So you can get away with one robot. They can do many processes that can be really effective for a small business or the third sector. And then there's stuff around being able to install stuff on your machines. And then there's providers like Microsoft as well coming on board. And it's very integrated into, if you have an Office 365 subscription already, you can probably get access to the Power Automate automation tools there, and you can automate relatively cheaply as well. So there's definitely different systems and different vendors for all people, but yeah, use cases are applicable across the board.
Yeah, it's really about what bit of software you actually want to use. My interactions with it have been at an enterprise level, but we have spun up smaller COVID automations that have only been there to run for 3 or 4 days. We also, one thing to remember is when you have the license and you have the kit, you can use it to make your own life easier. One of the issues is whenever we come to testing, we take an awful lot of time to get test data ready. So we actually took one of the test digital robots and made him do it for us. And I did actually catch my placement student who his first automation was to do his timesheets for him. So it's out there, folks. You can put, once you have it in, it's up to you to make the best of it.
Okay, perfect, thank you. I think that links actually with another question here, and Nathan, you had hinted at the Microsoft offering there as well. So there's 2 questions from Michael Barber. I think referring to your talk, Nathan, it says 3 months seems like a long time to develop a SAP invoicing integration. Is this typical? I think he's, 3 months per automation seems like it would only work if there's a particularly high volume to justify that initial investment. And then also he asks, is the Microsoft offering worth embracing yet, or is it still too immature?
So in the first one, I believe that was from very, very first conversation through procurement, deploy, do the business requirements gathering, deployment, testing, all that good stuff was 3 months. So if you actually think about doing that on an application or even building an integration, that's pretty quick from having the very first conversation. But yeah, usually these can be rolled out, as Andrew was showing his, pretty quickly once you know your way across the systems. And then on the second one, on the Microsoft one, 3 months ago, I would have not looked at Microsoft at all in this space. Their tool does have some fairly significant gaps across what the other ones provide, or in process mining, automation, orchestration, even unattended robots. There is gaps there. But being Microsoft, it won't take very long for them to plug those gaps. And also, there's a lot of use cases, particularly that sort of digital assistant, installing and helping you on your day-to-day work, that Microsoft, can definitely cover immediately. But it's definitely worth investigating, I think, at this stage.
I wouldn't say 3 months is necessarily indicative of what it takes to get an RPA solution out there, but it also comes down to the development team and how closely you partner with your business. You should be looking at how you can break that process out, how you can deliver the first iteration of that, start unlocking the value as quickly as you can, and then perform the ramp up through there. There's no requirement for an automation to go out as a big bang. You can do your MVP, you can build it all the way out, and as long as you have a defined roadmap, you can get it out there.
Perfect, thank you. We're just about out of time, but there's one other question here I would love to get answered. Is it possible to learn RPA without having any coding experience?
Yes.
Perfect.
So there's different ones out there. So you'll find there's a lot more community around UIPath and everything like that, a lot more community learning. Blue Prism's trying to up its game in that point. So if you go to the Blue Prism portal, there is actually a small trial offering. You can sign in. They do all of their online learning there. Certification in Blue Prism's that little bit more difficult, but it is almost a drag and drop UI and a little bit of coding in there for it. Some of the other offerings, I believe UiPath, it is the recording feature, so you can actually use that. But if you have a technology background, that's perfect. You're going to jump in and you're going to be ahead of the curve on it.
Yeah, pretty much if you can do Excel macros and understand how to do a macro in Excel, you're going to be able to understand the concepts of some of the UI drag and drop stuff. And there's definitely, as Andrew said, UiPath, Microsoft, their big focus is on like citizen developers and doing it yourself. And there's paths you can learn it, so you don't have to have any technology background to do some of the basics.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you very much, guys. We're just about a minute over there. I don't want to keep people too long after 5 o'clock. We didn't quite get through all the questions, but what we can do if you didn't get your question answered, we can collate these, and Andy and Nathan and myself will link up, and we'll hopefully get some answers out to you whenever we share the recording of today's session as well. So that's us, everyone. Thank you very much for joining, and special thanks to our two guest speakers. And yeah, thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Cheers, folks. Thank you very much. Have a good day.